All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from wherever you're joining us from. I hope you can hear me clearly. If you can, just give me a thumbs up so that we can just ascertain that everything is working as it should. Awesome. Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you for joining us. We should just give the rest some little time to join in, even as we carry on our fast webinar for commercial and government for the year 2026. And it's such a pleasure to have you here with us today. Yeah, so feel welcome. I hope you have your cup of coffee, tea, or whatever your choice of drink is this particular morning, even as we just take some time to engage today with regards to, what are some of the essential Microsoft and AI powered tech that we are recommending as Sibasi for the year 2026. So karibuni sana to the webinar. So let's just give it some time. All right, good stuff. As people are joining in, again, welcome to this first webinar for commercial and government. We're calling it Sibasi Connect for commercial and government, right? And like I mentioned, it's basically what we're calling essential Microsoft and AI-powered tech for 2026. Just having a conversation with people in the commercial and government space and just trying to figure out what does 2026 look like within the tech landscape and what are the things that we can take advantage of. So again, karibu sana. Just a bit of housekeeping before we start, just to make sure that this particular experience is smooth and enjoyable for you. So number one, this particular session is live and we'll be capturing the highlights. So expect polished recording delivered to your inbox within 6 business days. And of course, number two, we'd really love to make this particular session as engaging as possible. And so we'd want to make it valuable for you. So we have our live Q&A that is going to be open throughout the session. So feel free to drop your questions and your comments at any particular point in time. Just to mention that this event, again, is for, commercial and governments. I think last week we did one for nonprofits, and we tend to do this for the different industries so that we can be able to just hone in and focus on some of the things that we see are the challenges for the different industries, or whatever we call verticals, and then what are the solutions that we are proposing as Sibasi. Right, and so with that housekeeping out of the way, let's jump into, what we're looking at today. Right, so here's a reality check. In terms of labor, human labor is reaching its limits. So when we look at it, in a sense, many of us feel this every day. Yeah, the Work Trend Index shows that 80% of employees and leaders globally, they say that they do not have enough time or energy to do their jobs. If you really relate with that, you can just put a thumbs up on the chart. And then again, another 53% of leaders say that the productivity needs to rise to meet business goals. So you're seeing kind of like a catch-22 situation here. You do not have time to be able to, enough time and energy to do your job, yet we need productivity to rise. So there's clearly a gap, and this is a capacity gap. And the good thing about it is that at this particular juncture, this is where AI can come and make a very huge difference. So today, what we're going to be looking at is what are we expecting in 2026 in the tech sector? And the whole vibe is going to be around Copilot, which we've had and we have engaged with, which is, every employee having a Copilot. A Copilot is basically an assistant. So every employee having an assistant, but also what is going to be new is every organization process being transformed by what we call agents. And we're going to get deeper into how that is going to look like. But let me give us a landscape, a view of the landscape as it has been for a while. So, for decades, organizations have invested in technology to make people more productive. But until recently, technology mostly helped us to do things faster, not to think differently. Today, we are at a turning point where the nature of knowledge work itself is being redefined. So think about, before 2023, knowledge workers were the center of all thinking, analysis, and decision making. Technology supported them with tools like emails, documents, spreadsheets, and dashboards, but the thinking remained with the human. So people searched for information, interpreted it, prepared reports, followed up tasks, and coordinated work manually. Productivity depended heavily on individual effort and experience. So that is before 2023. And the takeaway here is that technology was a tool, but not a thinking partner, right? And so from 2023 onwards, we entered into the era of copilots, right? AI moved from the background into daily workflow, helping write emails, summarize meetings, analyze data, generate reports, and even assist with coding. This was a massive shift. AI became a collaborator. However, the human was still doing the orchestration, asking the questions, validating the outputs, and also executing decisions. So the key takeaway here is that Copilot was now augmenting productivity, but humans still manage the work. And what is the limitation here of Copilot only work? As powerful as Copilot is, it still depends on humans to initiate and manage every task. As organizations scale, this creates a new bottleneck. Humans become the coordinators of too many AI-assisted tasks. The next challenge isn't doing things faster, right? Or doing tasks faster. It's managing complexity. And that is now where we enter into 2026. So we are looking at 2026 and beyond, and we're moving into an era called the era of the AI agents. Here Copilot doesn't just assist. It manages special AI agents that execute complete workflows. And we want to look at the definition of what an agent is as we continue on with this particular webinar. So instead of asking AI to draft an email, analyze data, and create a report separately, knowledge workers define objectives, and then AI agents handle the execution. So what is the key takeaway here is that humans are now shifting from doing tasks to directing outcomes. So that is the change of the landscape that we are seeing in 2026, coming from knowledge workers all the way to where knowledge workers are partnering or collaborating with Copilot, and then they are managing agents which are able to handle the execution of tasks. There's a very interesting quote here by one Joel Ramjon, and it says, Copilot is a force multiplier. AI does a lot of heavy lifting so that people we help do not fall between the cracks, right? And so you'd ask yourself, what's an agent, right? So, and even as we're discussing what is an agent, you might try to ask yourself, what's the difference between a copilot and an agent? So a copilot is basically an AI assistant that works alongside a human, helping them to think, helping them to create, analyze, and decide, but always under human direction. So when you're thinking about copilot, just thinking about an assistant, but you're always directing. Now, an agent is an AI system that acts on behalf of a goal, right? Autonomously executing tasks across systems and only involving humans when judgment or approval is needed. So in this particular era, where we're talking about the era of agents, right? Copilot then becomes the manager coordinating these particular agents, while humans now take or get into a next level, which we're calling about the level of the leader, where they set the priorities and they're making the final decisions. And as you can see on the screen, AI, the agents exist on a spectrum. So different organizations are at different stages of their AI transformation. Some are at an advanced stage, and they're building the next generation of agents, which have autonomous capability, the ability to be able to run tasks from end to end without necessarily involving a human, while others are still building out their AI agents to focus on things around retrieval and things around tasks experiences, bringing their knowledge and automation into their agent experience. So that this shows us what it might look like. Your organization might be working on simple agents that deal with retrieval, or it could be actually at an advanced stage where you're doing things around what we call autonomous agents. And an example of an autonomous agent is what you're seeing on screen here. So this demo just showcases an example, right? So the trigger is when an email comes in, right? The instruction is to process incoming client engagement requests, find the right skill of colleagues, verify existing engagements, and log the engagement in the database. So what the agent uses, it uses a series of knowledge and actions like Power Automate Flow to execute the appropriate actions. And then finally, the colleague is assigned. The colleague assigned will receive an email saying that they are assigned to the client engagement. So this is an example of what an autonomous agent would look like. So there's no human involved in this particular process. You have given it the knowledge, you have given it the actions that it needs to check, to take based off of what it's being able to interpret from that particular email. So that's the era that we are going into. And even as you know, agents are going to take, all kinds of shapes and sizes, and in fact, we'll have, to broaden our mindset in terms of the types of solutions that agents will be able to solve. So today, you're thinking about agents often as what are the existing problems that I can further optimize, But as we move into the future, you're going to also start, seeing end user led innovation where people are solving localized small business processes with agents and fast and iterative ways. And also you're going to see lots of organization-wide transformation too. New technology applied to new problems that fundamentally would change how businesses are doing things. So that is what you're seeing on the screen there. You're going to have two types of, problems or areas where agents are going to be fundamental. You're going to be seeing them in the user-led side, and you're going to also see them on the organizational-led side. So in terms of, your organization being, a frontier firm when it comes to, the AI era, these are the three things that we have seen. Number one, organizations want to be able to deliver their programs effectively, right? They want to be able to improve visibility, to streamline workflows, to be able to maximize, the impact across of the data that they have across, a diverse and mostly remote, engagement stakeholders, right? So that's number one. Number two, you want to look at also better stakeholder management. You want to be able to connect with your customers and your clients to be able to give them the things that they need, right? And number three, whilst doing all these things, you want to also remain operationally efficient and secure. We can't deliver all this without thinking about compliance and governance. So those are the three things that we see are at the top of every commercial or government institution, right? Delivering your programs or your mission effectively, being able to engage with your stakeholders, both internal and external. And whilst you're doing that, you're trying to make sure that you're running efficiently and that you are secure. And so there are four areas here that we would see that would make, a success framework for any organization that wants to become a frontier with regards to, implementing AI within their organization, right? There are four things that we're looking at here. Number one, you'd want to enrich your employee experience. You'd want to reinvent how you engage with customers because, the customer touch points are changing even as, as the business landscape is changing, right? You'd want to reshape your business process. You'd want to optimize them. You'd also want to bend the curve on innovation. You'd want to determine how fast you can innovate, right? And how fast you can be able to pull tech into your organization and into your processes so that you can be able to fulfill your mission and to have the impact that you're looking at having. And so for today's discussion, Based on the success framework, we have a couple of approaches that we have seen. And from the Microsoft side of things, there are three things that we're looking at as an approach. Number one is for you to be able to bring in things like AI business solutions. So these are powerful tools such as Copilot and agents that can be integrated with your human capital to push the limits of productivity. The other approach would be now using cloud and AI platforms, that are scalable and that are flexible, allowing you to pick and choose what best fits your organizational needs, allowing you to perform the necessary groundwork, with content safety and observability to ensure AI apps are yielding the desired results. And then, of course, lastly, we are looking at security. These are solutions that empower you to build a zero trust environment with appropriate endpoint protection, identity management, and incident response capabilities so that you can ensure that your AI initiatives are secure. So let's look in the landscape, of what Microsoft has given us in terms of a secure AI business solution portfolio would look like. So on the left-hand side, you can see that you have your M365 Business Premium that comes in with your best-in-class productivity, things that you are used to, right? Your Teams, your Office applications, and all that, all down to Windows. But the thing that is different here is that all this stuff is infused with AI at the base, right? And on the other side, we're also looking at, on the right-hand side, you're looking at enterprise-grade security, because like we've said, as you are deploying AI and agents, you want to make sure that you're working within a secure context. And that segues us into the next bit. When talking about security and governance, number one, we'd want to know we'd want to manage the security posture of your organization. You'd want to look at things around data security, threat protection, identity, governance, and safety systems. So one of the things that we want to mention here is, for example, you have seen how many people, and probably you yourself, have gone to, tools, AI tools out there to be able to meet some needs. For example, you're trying to do a proposal, or you're trying to do a particular research, and you're putting in company data on things like, for example, ChatGPT. Now, the interesting thing about that is, the information that you're putting in on those particular systems are used to train their models, and some of that information could be sensitive, and so you'd want to have, an AI infrastructure that has the security parameters that allows you to be able to work on your data set without necessarily leaking that out into what we would call the open source, environment where anybody can be able to, get access to your data. And that's what we're looking at in terms of security and governance. When you're uploading your files and you're telling AI to summarize, or AI to be able to come up with, a PowerPoint and stuff like that, you are looking at a secure environment where you are confident that the information that you have uploaded in there is only accessible to the people that you have defined. So that is where Microsoft shifts the game when it comes to AI. You're able to build within a platform that is secure. You're able to determine who needs to access what at any particular point in time. So that is the game changer with regards to enabling you to be able to use AI in a secure and a compliant way. So then again, like we've said, to become a frontier a frontier organization, you would need to look at four things, right? You need to look at your ability to be able to enrich the employee experience. You need to be able to look at how are you able to reinvent customer engagement, reshape business processes, and also try to bend the innovation curve. And for you to be able to do this, like we've mentioned, the approach would be, let's look at these particular three areas. Right? What are the AI business solutions that we can bring into these particular opportunities? What are the cloud and AI platforms that businesses can be able to leverage? And then what are the security solutions that we are able to apply to these particular approaches that will be able to help us to meet these particular opportunities? But before we go on, AI is only as good as the data it's grounded on. I'd want to pause there for a minute and just let that sink in. I know there's a whole buzz about what can be done with AI, how organizations are taking in AI, but the fundamental truth about this is that AI is only as good as the data is grounded on. 83% of senior business leaders say that their organization's AI adoption would be faster if they had stronger data infrastructure in place. What does that mean? It means that do you have a system that you are able to capture data well? You are able to organize that particular data? Do you have a central repository or a source of truth with regards to how your operations are organized? So that is what we're talking about here. And 83% of senior leaders are saying that if for them to adopt AI much faster, then that particular infrastructure needs to be in place. And I think this is a good place to pause, Amos, and and ask, should that particular poll, does your organization have any particular system to capture the data that you have? So I think you can have that running, Amos, even as we continue to discuss. So just shoot that away and let us know if you have any particular data system that you are taking in place. All right. I'm seeing the responses coming in thick and fast. Like I say, I see about 50% of us here in the call. Oh, all right, that is changing. Wow, that changed a lot. It was 50%. It was 50-50 for yes and no. Now we are at 33%. 33% saying yes, 33% saying no, 33% saying maybe. And for all of us here, that is changing. Awesome, nice. We're seeing that go up 50%. So keep on bringing them down. Yeah, let's see that. Let's see them coming in. This is great. Yeah. Keep on voting. Yeah, I see now we are standing at 60%. Yeah, 60% saying that there is some form of data infrastructure. So that means that your organization is actually now ready to be able to, take on, AI adoption to the next level. And I see 20% saying no and 20% saying maybe. You are in the right place, because in this particular conversation today, we're going to be looking at, how we can be able to get you to that particular next level where AI adoption is going to be a smooth sailing journey. I see the statistics have gone to 71%. We're doing great, right? And as you keep on voting, we shall continue with our presentation. And like I say, 69% of the top performing companies have implemented data modernization. So again, I can't overemphasize this, right? AI is only as good as the data is grounded on, right? And how would that look like? Right? So the statistics are here on the screen, right? There's three things that we need to look at. We need to be moving from disparate silos, right? Where we are lacking visibility, the conversation is disconnected and we are wasting capacity. We need to move from disparate silos we need to move to a unified platform, right? Where all things are integrated and the data is available and there's low latency, meaning that you can get near real-time results, right? The next thing that we need to move from is from complex data that is redundant and inconsistent. Let's say, for example, if you're dealing with customers and you have your marketing team have a list of customers and you have your salespeople have a list of customers and both of you are maintaining those Excels separately, that could be inconsistent and sometimes redundant. So you'd want to be able to clean that up, mash that up, so that you have what we call clean data, which is AI ready, which is in real time, and also it's high quality, which means you're only having one instance of a particular data point at any point in time. The other thing that we need to move from is, from exposed, right, data, where data is sitting everywhere. We have probably organizations that have their data on, Gmail, for example, or personal drives, and that, that's a vulnerability in a sense, because if you as an individual is hacked, then it means that your organizational data is hacked as well. So some of the sites that we use probably to load our data or even to share our data, remember there was a time that, that was a thing, using some of these transfer utilities, or even how we are using our data right now, when you're putting in that particular proposal or that particular template in ChatGPT. You do not know who would probably have access to the insights that are in there. So you are trying to move from that particular level where we have vulnerabilities and the data is not protected, to a situation where the data is governed. Number one, it's compliant, such that when you upload that data, it's only on a need to know basis. Yeah, you have given access to the right people at the right time, and that's what you'd hear we calling zero trust, right? People have to verify their authentication. We're not just putting it out there for everybody. And we also want to make sure that that particular data set, right, is secure, right? So those are the things that we're talking about when you're looking at unified data. So it's only when you have unified data that you now are able to unlock the goodies that come with AI, right? So the idea is, yeah, like we've looked at it, activate all these, right? Unify your data estate, transform the data into, powerful AI solutions, and then empower everyone with analytics and insight. But if you do not do the first step, then the next two steps are not going to be efficient or are not going to be possible, right? And remember, all these things are being done on the framework of governance and protecting your data so that it's not leaked, even internally. Imagine a case where somebody would go into a Copilot and start asking, what does my manager earn? And they get that particular result. It will cause mayhem in organizations. So you'd want to make sure that people have access only to the data points that they need to access. And this is what we have seen in terms of organizations, and what I was talking about, number one, the things that we need to move away from. Yeah, we've had what we call silos in departments. You have your research and strategy and communication speaking closely, but they're not in touch with what is happening in the other departments, in terms of your customer service, in terms of what is happening in the finance side of things, with procurement, with accounting, and also the executive leadership is in its own cocoon. So everybody is working, but none of this is unified. So for AI to have impact within an organization, we need to bring all these particular elements, all these particular departments together. And we can only do that using technology solutions, right? We're trying to unify all this data so that everybody can be able to understand the landscape in terms of, our customers and our citizens, in terms of what is happening with the suppliers and our partners, in terms of what is happening in terms of investors and regulators. We are all able to get this particular data, crunch this data, and use it to make the decisions that we need to make. And that is what this next slide would show us, right? Once you build this, then now your organization is optimized for an AI fast process, right? You're able now to improve, efficiency and productivity. You're able to move faster and more efficiently. You're able to minimize human errors. You remember, for example, if you send out that quote and you've missed out a zero, or you put the decimal point at a different place, it can cost your organization. And those are things that come in with human errors. Probably somebody is, like we said, 80% of people are saying that, they do not have enough time and energy to do their work. So errors come from that particular place. And that is a good point for, if the work is redundant or repetitive, then we need to be able to apply AI or agents or a co-pilot in that particular situation. So it helps to minimize that. You're able also to improve collaboration across teams, right? You're able to share this information, so you do not have to walk to the other department for you to get the information that you need. The information are at your fingertips through a co-pilot or an agent. Right? So those are the things that we are looking at in this particular scenario. Right. So in terms of what we are looking at from our continuum of solutions that we are able to offer, in terms of from engagement all the way into execution, there's a couple of things, right? So most organizations that we found start with the productivity, and collaboration tools. This is how you break those particular silos. So things around your Word, Excel, SharePoint, providing you basic tools and secure documents with things like CRM. Then next, we're looking at your customer engagement, your touch points. How are you able to build this up? And we're able to do that using tools like Dynamics 365. Dynamics 365 is able to handle things around your sales pipeline, handle things around your customer service. If you're in the service industry and you're offering probably what we call post-sales support, you're able to do that. If you have a field team that you need to manage, you're able to do that as well. Right. The other bit is around workflow automation. What are those repetitive things that we might want to be able to track? So, we'd help you to automate, your key processes, through easy configurable tools on Power Platform. Powerful low-code, no-code environment that allows you to be able to build applications at a rapid scale that are able to now ensure that your processes are automated instead of you now filling those particular, manual paper vouchers, for example, or that particular expense sheet and having it, walk to your manager to be able to sign it, then walk to finance to be able to sign it and file it. You're able to transform that quickly with the tools like Power Platform. So we're able to build things around your expense claim all the way to contract management and any other business process that you have within your organization, right? From a finance and HR standpoint, there's the ability for you to be able to use Dynamics 365 to be able to manage your accounts, accounting, budgeting, and also procurement and HR stuff, things around onboarding and, leave tracking. We have organizations that still probably do their leave tracking via email, for example, or via Excel. So we're able to transform that so that that data is able to link in with all the other aspects. Imagine now trying to calculate how much an organization is exposed to from the leaves that people have. That is a process that might take an organization a long time. But imagine if you have that automated in terms of you have grounded your data well, such that AI is able to see that based off of the leave types that people have and the times that they have not taken, we are able now to see how much the organization owes from that particular point of view. So that's the beauty of doing automation in that particular area. The other bit would be around governance, things around governance, ESG, which is the new baby in the block, and also things around risk and compliance. You can use eBoard to be able to manage such kind of conversations. Smart memos, application to be able to manage how you send the memos internally, and also use an application like Monivo to be able to look at your risk and strategy tracking. And then lastly, all this information we're looking at, we'd want to see how are we doing from an impact perspective. Are we meeting our mission? And that is why reporting and analytics comes in. And now we can start utilizing things like Power BI and AI for Copilot. AI Copilot to be able to generate and, to tell your executive and operational reports to be able to, give a story about what is happening truly within your organization. And remember, like I said, if you do not have your data grounded well, then you might not be able to get the right reports. All right. And even as we now get to the fun part, where we're going to now see what are the practical solutions that we have lined up for you today, we just want to start from here. This is a familiar screen, I think, for most of us, just showcasing the breadth and the length of, things that we have in a Microsoft perspective. And even as I go through this, I want, Amos, you could probably put, a poll in the chat if your organization is utilizing Microsoft, for example, because there probably could be organizations that are not utilizing Microsoft. And so this conversation might be strange for you today. So let's take a pause here and see how many organizations are utilizing this, and then see how we can be able to share this particular discussion going forward. So over to you, Amos. I don't know if a poll is running. Awesome.
I think it's on.
Yeah, I can see it. Let's see the results streaming. Wow, amazing. Based on the results reaching our desk. From our tallying center, we see that 100% of us here today are using Microsoft 365. That is great news. Why? Because then it means that your organization is well poised to be able to take advantage of, AI business solutions. So we're looking at a couple of things here. You're looking at your Microsoft 365 ecosystem, and Amos will be showing us, how we can be able to leverage, AI in some of these particular applications. In your Microsoft 365, what are you able to do from a Copilot Studio perspective? That is now with regards to now building on things we are calling agents, right? Building those autonomous processes based off of the, how you work in an organization. And I think you're going to see a use case that Amos is going to showcase with regards to that. Then we have things around Dynamics 365 and extended tools. What can you be able to leverage from a sales perspective? So Microsoft has tools on that, and we have, as Sibasi, have also built tools that will help you to be able to manage your sales process, to be able to manage your risk and strategy tracking, things around finance, like I've talked about smart Memo, all the way down to customer service and project operations, and even eBoard for your board management and governance conversations. And then there's also the bit, if you're running on Microsoft, then there's this particular bit around Power Platform that allows you to be able to spin up those particular apps really quickly. So if you want to do something around, your quick expense management, or you want to do something like asset tracking, or build up quickly something that would do for you your ticketing, that is now the platform that allows you to automate, some of those repetitive business process, and now start getting that data ready for you to do AI. So without further ado, I think this is the point where I invite Amos, right, to come in and now take us through the live demo showcase of what we are able to do and what we're looking at from an agentic conversation. So over to you, Amos.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks so much, Edwin, and pleasure connecting. I think for some of us, we haven't met before. Some we are familiar. We know each other from last year. We are good friends. And some, we have met within the year. It's a pleasure connecting, I think, today. This being our first webinar for the commercial and enterprises and government. So we have a lot that we are hoping to unpack based on what Edwin has been running through, and that's why you will see that today we've set. Previously, we've been doing 1-hour sessions, 30-minute sessions, just a high level of some of the solutions. But we realized, I think one of the core feedback that we've been getting, I think last year, was that we need to try and give more time so that we can go deeper into some of the solutions and just get to showcase what in a bit more detail. So I know you might be able to unmute, but I think Edwin will help me in coordinating. Just as I might miss out on the chat when I'm focusing on the other screen, I may not be able to see any questions that are coming up. But feel free. I think we have a bit of time to be able to try and expound on each of the areas in as much detail as possible, answer any questions that you may have, and hopefully, the engagement will be very worthwhile for you and your organization. So I'll start off by launching a small poll that basically asks, so that I know where we get to focus on in terms of the demo as we probably switch screens. It will allow me to share. Just let me know if you can see the screen. Has it loaded?
Yes, it has loaded.
All right. As that is happening, I've sent an email on chat. If you have something, I would say a request for purchasing an item, or if you have a quote that does not have any proprietary information, that you can send to that email. There's a part of the demo that I'll show later on. Hopefully we'll not get too many, so that we can see how the agents behave in the process. So as that is coming in, let's see other IT. I'm very curious what other is. If you could probably just send a chat, just say what other really stands for. But as that is happening, let's go now that I think it was 100% of us are on Microsoft. I think from that earlier poll. But I see majority in IT. We have business, we have finance. Fantastic. All right, so this helps, I think, to know where to place a little bit more emphasis. And I think when we are concluding this engagement, we'll ask, if you can share the feedback so that we know which areas you'd want us to either take a bit more time to do another session where we are diving deeper into the particular area, so that we are able to more or less give as much value as possible. Yeah, fantastic. Right, and we'll also get to share, I think, the upcoming sessions that we have. I think on 26th, for example, we have a Power BI deep dive, a one-day session that we are conducting with Microsoft. We are one of the authorized trainers on what is called experience in a day, where we take you through from zero to end of the day. I know I've seen some of the familiar members who we've done these sessions last year. So if you have somebody you think that would benefit, I see Monica and a couple of other guys who have been in some of the previous sessions. We are going to be having one. It's the same content as what we did last year with slight new things about what is happening in the Power BI space. So we'll be having that, I think, on 26th. Maureen, if you can share the link to where to go and register and get more details about that as I start off. Okay, so I see the feedback has come in. Majority of us are in IT. Fantastic. All right, so I'm told also sometimes when I get excited about this technology, I just dive into and talk a lot very quickly. If you see that I'm going too fast, please just leave a chat and we just say, hey, please, we need a bit more explanation. So where I've started off from is when you go to office.com, if you're already logged in to your Office 365 account, this must be familiar for all of us. I know most likely you're using Copilot, to ask it questions. I won't go deep into just, how do you get to use this in a much more efficient way. We have a session that we can do training on how do you maximize, the way you get feedback from the chat. There's also this aspect of agents, and one of the interesting use cases. So setting up an agent, I think Microsoft is trying to democratize the setting up of agents so that you from just day-to-day usage, you can come in and set up your agent that serves a particular purpose. And for example, for one of our core use cases is we respond to proposals a lot. And one of the biggest challenges with this has been you get a proposal, you need to identify what are the mandatory requirements and so forth. So the agent helps us when we get a proposal, it just summarizes this is what is required, checks which solution, tags, and sends notifications. And probably I'll get to show you a particular interesting use case for something that might be of interest for your organization. But if you want to set up agents, this is a process, and there are some templates that come out of box. So, and this is not, you do not need a Copilot Pro license. This just comes with your standard. The account that I'm using does not have it's just a Copilot chat basic, the one that comes with Microsoft 365. I'll be spending a bit more time on SharePoint and for EDMS, I'll just highlight a couple of things on that at a later point. I'll also talk about Outlook just to see other use cases for something that you may not be already familiar with as part of that particular process. So where I want to start off today is one of the areas that sometimes we overlook, how we engage with our board, how we engage with our leadership, especially to be able to report and assist the board to have all the information that they need when preparing for the meetings. So what I've selected is just gone to apps, and in this case, because it has already been deployed on our tenant, I just select Sibasi eBoard and it brings in. Sibasi eBoard is available on multiple channels. So I'll just go to eBoard.cloud. and from eBoard.cloud. So I'll highlight, first you can log in on the web directly, or you can also get the apps. There's the app for Google Play Store and Apple Store. So if you're board, and in one of the core interesting things about the board management is that your board most likely might not even have your tenant email account. So this allows you to connect information that is sitting in your tenant, and your board members can come in and sign up with just their normal email, whether they use Gmail or they use another tenant or they use Google Workspace or they use Microsoft. That the solution itself supports all these particular channels. The other key item that I'll highlight about eBoard is that we'll come back to this, but I want to highlight that you can also be able to get it on Teams if you're already, since most of us are already on Microsoft 365. If you just go and search for eBoard, it's available. You can add it to your tenant directly, and then when you add, it gives you access as and just uses your authentication. So similar to how I've clicked just on this, and then it allows me to log in. So if I'm an external board member or any other user, I can just come in and just say get started. And when I say get started, then it takes me, already I had logged in, but basically you can use your Microsoft account, Google account, or any of the other accounts. If there's anything that you need to either approve or tasks that you need to actually action, then those that you have open, then you get to see them in your needs attention section. If you have any upcoming meetings, for example, if you have a board meeting that is upcoming soon, then you'll get to see this. So something interesting about this is that it syncs, you can be able to actually sync your account with your personal calendar. So if I go to my profile, I have this option that allows me to come to the notifications and calendar, but basically within the linked email accounts, I can add all the various accounts that I would want to use for authentication, to use to access the system. Or I can go to my notifications and say, I also want to bring in my Google Calendar, which might be personal. I want to bring in my Teams calendar, which is your Microsoft 365 calendar. The moment you connect this, then it syncs up all your meetings into one particular view. The big advantage with this is that if you are setting up, if you're the company secretary or you are in charge of setting up meetings for your board or for your leadership, or even just, it might not be the board, it might also be your senior leadership that, you're trying to see when is everybody available. As you come into setting up your meetings, then you are able to actually, when you're selecting who you want to add to the particular meeting, you get to see when they're busy and so forth. So the synchronization of the calendar is one big value plus. The other aspect is, of course, you're seeing, it shows you your engagement level, in terms of, and this helps with your board evaluation, coming for meetings and so forth. We have a bot that gets into, to join your meetings. I've seen a couple of us have put Read AI and other tools. You're able to actually get to see that. Then, of course, if I have any recent activity, I'll see that there. And if I have list of tasks that I need to action, which actually sit on the task list, then I'm able to see, these are the things that I need that are assigned to me. The interesting bit about this is setting up of the tasks is actually from the meetings. You can, let's say we have this particular meeting that was scheduled. When I go into it, we'll have the tab where we can say, these are the list of the action points that are supposed to be tagged to. Whether it is somebody who was part of the meeting or not part of the meeting, we can tag and say, this particular task is supposed to be actioned by somebody in finance or somebody in, and that helps, in terms of the collaboration. We are making decisions at leadership or within, let's say, your IT team, you've met and you've agreed, these are the list of tasks that we need to do. Then you can be able to actually set that up from the tasks, and that syncs up to your list of tasks on this other side. Of course, one of the questions that I think came up when we were doing the session last week was, if I'm setting up a meeting and there are some documents that we are supposed to give the board, but they are supposed to be approved before we submit, or the meeting itself needs to be approved, let's say, by the CEO. The person setting up is not the CEO, but you would want that meeting to actually be approved, then that sits within your approval request. The other place is that, when when I'm uploading the set of documents, I can even submit them, where it is not just an approval. We also want to make sure that the document actually gets to be signed. Then this integrates with your DocuSign, with your DocuSign, whatever you use as a tool for e-signing, and then brings in your e-signatures. When you get into the particular meeting, of course, you're seeing the first summary. But eBoard integrates with whether you set up meetings. For example, for some of the boards you use Zoom, some of the boards you use Google Meet, or you use Microsoft Teams. If you're doing an online meeting as you're setting up, then you can choose to link it up to whatever tool, and then in this case you can just go and say start meeting. And what it does is that it goes now, like this one you'll see was a Teams meeting. It creates, it opens up your Teams and initiates the call. But today I think one of the things that Edwin has spent a bit of time looking at is the capabilities of AI, to help in the day-to-day kind of work. So whether it is in your meeting, so in your meeting, you'll see this summarized, or if it is within your documents, you'll see that you have the aspect of summarize. What it does is that eBoard already uses now AI to read through, these long documents and reports, and can be able to give you summaries of that. Or if it is now, for example, in this particular meeting, I'm able to come and say, okay, summarize for me what this meeting is about. And it gives you a quick summary that this is what is the discussion, this is what is the expectation. And the good thing is that this now allows you to even upload, whether it is the agenda, and summarizes whether it is documents or the details about what the meeting is supposed to be for. When I go into any of particular documents, we've seen scenarios where you do not necessarily just want, like I was just running this sometime earlier, just asking it, for example, from the particular document, can you just tell me what was our revenue in that? And what it does is that it goes through the document and gives you just the exact answer about what you are asking about for that particular document. Of course, it also uses AI when you want to get your support. You have a question, just uses AI, you raise a question, and then it tells you this is how you need to set up a meeting, or how you're supposed to access the various things. The best part about it is that it also brings in what we call the business reports. So if you are, for example, in within your team, you need to submit finance reports, and you'll see this is using Power BI for submitting, dashboards, that now your board can be able to come in, for example, if it is about getting summaries about your sales, and where you can, and the good thing with Power BI is these capabilities about being able to summarize and see what is happening about a particular area. And this is the kind of information that your board will most likely need to be able to make decisions. So whether it is even things to do with your HR, you are able to get summarization of this, and you're providing this summary of all the reports across all the various teams, so that now your board is able to say, okay, we need to actually look at this count. We want to make sure that we have gender balance. And so in this case, HR, we are authorizing a budget for us to be able to actually hire more ladies. If you're looking about attrition, or you're looking about the aging and so forth, and of course the key things that HR would be interested in understanding, okay, our average age is almost 60, so almost everybody is about to retire. We need to now start looking at succession planning and so forth. And one of the last things that I'll highlight about eBoard is the ability to have what we call committees, or rather the groups. So whether it is your committees, departments, you're setting up a team that normally handles your internal events, then you can set it up as a committee. And basically what this does is any documents, any files, any meetings, you set them up within the committee, and then every person within that particular committee gets notified and gets to see updates about what is happening within our particular committee. I hope I've not been rushing through too fast. I wanted to just, highlight this. I don't know whether, Edwin, there's any particular question, or I can move on to, I can go back to Microsoft 365, and then we move on to the next item. Happy to proceed.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any questions. So I think you can proceed. But again, as you proceed, just to notify all those who are on the call that you are able to submit some of the questions that you have on the Q&A. You're also free to tell us to, repeat something or slow down in case we are going too fast for you. I think the whole idea, like I mentioned when we're starting, is to make sure that this particular session is more engaging and also beneficial for you. So if you see something that you'd want, to be reiterated or to to be repeated, then you could just put that in the chat and we would oblige to that. So feel free to do that. Yeah, over to you, Amos.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Edwin. Great. Then coming back now to our Microsoft 365, as you said, this is our starting point for accessing all our solutions. I'll go into Outlook. And one of the things that you might want also to probably discuss with your teams and just notify on the advantages of that now come with some of these particular tools is that I don't know how many of us are particularly familiar with what you can do around this particular area, where basically in the settings you can be able to set up what we call rules, or you can be able to set up that and to give you a good example is I have somebody who sent I think this is a petty cash claim that was this is the final approval, but basically if there's an incoming invoice, there's an incoming especially if you handle a lot of recruitment, if you handle a lot to do with procurement, if you handle a lot of incoming vendor invoices, or you are requesting other customers to pay, then you can be able to actually do a lot of automations just within your Outlook and the tools that you get within the Microsoft ecosystem. So to pick this up, I won't go into the nitty-gritties about the things that you can do with the rules and synchronization of calendars and so many other things that you can do in terms of task handling and what have you. That in itself is a whole session where we would need just to go step by step and just look at, okay, you can be able to do this, you can be able to connect in this particular way. So what I want to highlight is that I have this particular tool that is called Sentinel. But basically what this tool does is that it gives organizations 24/7 availability using AI to be able to handle tasks such that you then end up being available 24/7. So allow me to just quickly log in. And then you'll see that what it does is that it consolidates emails that are received. So if I go to my email, let me just see if I can show you this as a live workflow. And what we've set up is QA@sibasi.ltd. And then I'll say this is an invoice for processing. And I'll say, dear team, please process this invoice. Kind regards. Right, so, and then I would want to do an attachment. Right, let me just browse. In my downloads, I say that I have that particular invoice. And then I say, just send it. So the process that I want to show you is that this tool becomes your agent in terms of, first of all, picking any incoming email. So whether it is a request, an inquiry, and so forth, we're able to actually set it up to do automated responses, but you might not want to do that, especially in the initial. I think there's one organization we were talking some time back, and they mentioned that they receive sometimes close to 600 emails within a particular day, sometimes, and you can imagine even if you have a team of 10, they are handling quite a number of emails, and sometimes you want to make sure that they are routed to the right person, that and probably all these emails are coming in through one particular email you are in for or whatever. So this particular tool allows you to actually do these kinds of automation. So let me just go back there. You'll see now that new email has just come in from me, and if I open it. Okay, so let me first explain, I think, a couple of things. One of the things is that you'll see either it goes and does the entire process end to end, or it can have, when you're training it, we tell it that for this particular sets of, for example, if it is about invoicing, don't reply automatically. I want to actually just pull this information, put it into our system that handles invoice processing, whether you use your document management or you have Dynamics Business Central. I'll get to show you how this integrates now with your Dynamics Business Central. But basically, you can set it up such that you tell it when you receive an invoice, this is what we want you to do. Or it can be even for other things like partnership requests, inquiries, and so forth. Depending on what it is, we can set it up such that AI more or less reads, has your knowledge base, whether it is information from your website or your document management, and is able to actually either prepare the full response and send, or it actually tags you, and in this case, that's why I was saying I'll come back to Teams. It gets to tag you with this particular notification, such that you're able to get notifications directly on Teams that, oh, there's something AI has done, but it needs you to actually go and probably review. And when you say view the details, then it takes you to that particular, this one is referencing a different link. It takes you to the particular link and where it gets to show you what that particular details of that document looks like. So whatever I sent as the details, please process the invoice, has the various details. I can prepare the response directly from here. But the main thing that I wanted to show is that if I pick, let me use a different one of the others, an earlier one that I had done. If I pick like this one and it has already read the invoice and the details about what is supposed to happen, then I can be able to actually action from this particular aspect, or I can delve into the finer details and say that, for example, in this case, as I was saying, does it go to your document management? Yes. So this picks that particular invoice, sends it over to, now you'll see that the link is actually our invoice processing link. And it actually places, because it has read that this particular email is from Microsoft, then creates a folder called Microsoft and places that particular invoice in that particular area. Now, other things that we are able to do, as you can see, Microsoft, SharePoint being used as our document management, tells me that I can also set up an automation that does a reminder for this particular set of invoices on these, the vendor invoices. Anytime it is 3 days before, send me a notification, send a notification to the team that this is actually almost due or overdue. And in this particular case, then we have, you see the overview. So it's not just a document that comes in, it reads the details of the document and then places that within your, within the metadata on that particular folder on your document management. So whether it's something like this and there are other use cases that you can be able to do, whether it is, for example, you have processes such as petty cash processing, where you have a team going in and then submitting a petty, making a submission that this is what we want to claiming, and then doing that, it goes and creates a record on your document management, you do your entire approval process, and then once it's done, creates a final report that also can be sent on mail, which is what you are seeing here, that it sends a notification and says, okay, we have processed that request, and this is the final output or the final document that it has e-signing and so forth. So this is just a simple use case of basic processes that you can be able to actually automate within your organization, such that you are able to create various automations. And I think Edwin alluded to this, that in 2026, one of the things that we see is that there's some very repetitive processes that ideally do not need a human being to actually do. You can actually have, these AI agents sitting in the background and being able to actually do automated processing. And that means even your availability, whether it is, on weekends, at night, you have availability where you're able to respond to customers very quickly. You're able to respond to, if you're in the government sector, then you're able to respond to your citizens, and it can use whatever information that you have within the organization. I'll pause there just to see if there is any immediate question about what I'm showcasing, the business process that I'm showcasing, before I move on to now a different section, just to show you now how this all connects with a solution called Dynamics Business Central. I don't know how many of us also are familiar with Business Central. Maybe you can do a thumbs up so that I know where to start off this particular conversation. If you can do a thumbs up on Teams, just to say, and if we are together also just a thumbs up. I don't know whether those are 2 thumbs ups. I'll be able to tell which is which. But are we together? Do you have any particular question up to this particular point?
Yeah, I'm seeing them thumbs ups.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think it signifies that we're doing good.
All right. Happy to proceed.
Right.
Anything, Edwin, that you think I should re-emphasize or explain further, or I can proceed to the next area?
I think you can proceed to the next one. Yeah,
okay.
I think we can circle back to any of those particular things at the Q&A session.
All right, fantastic.
Right.
Again, so this time I'm going to be using a different account. I've logged in as it's called Sibasi System Admin. This is an account that now has the demo environment for Business Central. And for this one, I want to show you a couple of things. So first is, let me open a new tab. I don't know if there's anyone who sent a request for a quote request or an invoice. I see only the one that I probably had sent earlier. But basically what I had done is the same request. I sent out a request to this particular organization saying that please send me 5 pieces of Athens Desk. And the next solution that I want to show you now is how these links between your email and then bringing in Dynamics 365 Business Central. So let me just log in. And as that is happening, if you have any particular question, if I've lost you at any particular point, and you'd want me to further explain any particular aspect, feel free to just raise it up. If you're good to go, so I've logged in, and this is an organization that is called Demo, but we also have, I think, others that I could use to showcase other functionalities. So I won't go into the nitty-gritties about specifically Business Central. Business Central gives you your core finance capabilities, allowing you to do, whether it is, if you're doing your balance sheet, you're doing those kinds of reports, you can be able to do that. If you're tracking your CRM, your customers and things to do with that, you can be able to handle that. Any processes, whether you do the process of actually sales quote, orders and so forth. If you handle purchasing, then it handles that, and basically bringing together all your organizational information, what we call the enterprise resource planning, into one system that now puts everything. And then we are able to now have a view that, for example, this is, I think, a business manager view, but we can have different other views, for example, for procurement, for finance, and so forth. So whatever the processes, you can link them up. And it's a wonderful system that, if well configured, can do fantastic work in terms of your automations. So what I want to focus on is these two aspects that they are called the agent. So one we have is a sales order agent. Nobody sent an invoice, so we could have also seen how the payables agent works. But payables agent, what it basically does is that it's able to link up to your email address, or rather to your email, and be able to actually pick any invoices that are coming in, similar to just the process that I showed you with the Sentinel agent. And then once it picks up that, it handles that particular invoice and brings it up so that you're able to see those invoice requests on the system. For the sales order, what it does is that, and this one is the one that I'll now go into, it is any email that comes in, it picks it up and then reads it and then sees if it is, and gets that information to determine, do I need to create an invoice? Do I need to create, I'm being requested to do a quote. If it has all that information about what the quote is about, then it's able to process that. So when I select this, I can see that there's a message that came in, and then I can say review. And then it has these particular details, and then notifies me that actually this particular sender is not a known customer, is not a known contact. So I can be able to now do the creation of that particular contact. You can see it's picking out information that is sitting within that particular, within the request that has come in. And as I continue doing this, then it goes in and does, step by step, looking at, okay, I need to do another task, and it asks you questions. So what Edwin was alluding to, I think on this particular slide, is that in previous times, what we had was, before 2023, we were probably probably just doing the work directly. Then between 2023 and 2025, Copilot came, and we were working with Copilot to ask questions and so forth. But in 2026, the core focus is that you have these particular sets of agents that now get to do work alongside with you, so that you are able to do actual approval of and reviewing, so that it doesn't just do tasks without actually confirming from you if it needs to. And this particular set of the two sales order agent and payables agent actually comes as part of the Dynamics 365 Business Central, the cloud option. So for those of us who are still using the on-prem option, now you start losing out, because and what I've seen is that the pricing is now the same. But with the cloud hosted option, then you get these agents out of box. But besides that, we are also able to actually do training where we are able to tell these particular sets of agents, okay, when we receive this particular request, I want you to handle it in this particular way. I want you to do these particular sets of steps. Now, I know we don't have anyone who's particularly from HR, but I'd want to highlight an interesting solution that you might want to actually get to know about. But before probably I move away from Dynamics Business Central, I know some of us, so the agent is actually running the task, so this will take a bit of time when it's doing the querying the database and so forth. But as that is happening, we'll get to probably see it before we conclude. Before I move on to the next section, just to show you an interesting tool for your HR. I don't know whether there's any particular immediate question. All right. So this solution is called Factorio. And Factorio brings together your core HR functionality. So whether it is starting off from your clock in, clock out, where you have also the list of tasks of what you need either to implement, or like in this case, somebody has requested for time off and you need to do an approval, or showing you the list of the events or who's not in office today, like somebody's on leave and so forth. Or where we get to do announcements. I didn't go into the intranets and what you can do similar to this kind of functionality so that you have good communication across the board. But Factorio brings in these particular sets of items, including reminding you things like when you have your anniversary, work anniversary, when you have birthdays, and whatever the information that is relating to your team, then you can get to see that within the particular tool. It has the main section, of course, the first, which is personalized, and where you're able to actually see things to do with your benefits. If you actually do time tracking, if you do time sheets, you can be able to handle that within this particular aspect. If you have expense tracking, where you go and collect invoices and they're supposed to be tagged to projects and so forth, then you're able to actually do that, in terms of my spending. Or, in most organizations, you have what you call the learning and development team within HR that take the ones who are required to take into account, everybody learning. It has the learning management tool within the portal. Other key things, I think, for most of us, especially within the Kenyan environment, within the African context, we also do performance management. So whether you use your 360-degree feedback, you use balance scorecard, or you just do summarization of this is our evaluation, you can also be able to do that. For your HR, if they receive a lot of requests for work and so forth, then they can be able to actually create the jobs, publish them and across the various tools, and then be able to get, as people are responding to this, they'll be able to see and it does what using AI just to do the job matching and be able to track and be able to put together whatever the information that relates to your to the people who are submitting the CVs and the job that actually you have given as the job description for that particular task. And then it has your IT inventory tracking and so many other things I want to go into on this other side. But what I wanted to bring in, which might be of interest, especially for your teams and your organization, is when you are looking for somebody or you want to know who are the people who are going to be out of office, or what is the policy saying, or whatever, then it comes with what is called One AI. And this particular tool allows you to be able to ask, now if I was HR, I would ask who has taken the most leave this year. And having that information right on the fly, and of course keeping in tabs on the aspect of the your permissions. If you are a senior person, let's say a manager, and you want to know within your team, then it's able to actually give you this information in context of your team. If it is HR, then it gets this information across from all your organization. So these are some of the very interesting tools that you can get to see across the various domains. I think I've touched on Dynamics 365. I've touched on HR. I've highlighted a bit about what you can do in terms of automations. Oh, I see there's a request that also came in here. And with that, again, it will come in as a request, and I can be able to do the processing as I mentioned. I've also touched on eBoard and being able to have a connection with your board. I've touched on the automations that you can get to do with the Sentinel, which does the background work, whether it is handling your calls or handling your emails and connecting to various tools. And then it's able to actually automatically respond or raise requests to your team if need be. And I've touched on now all of these, how they get tagged together on your Microsoft 365 environment. So I think I'd want to stop there and hand over to Edwin to probably get to highlight something around a solution stack that we got to do recently, that got to highlight, when we were doing the entire process of, Edwin mentioned that you need to have the data, you need to have systems before you can bring in or get the full capabilities of AI. So yeah, fantastic, Edwin. As I hand over, you can be able to see the outputs, in terms of the reporting that you can be able to do, and what processes in terms of how do you actually need to put together, the data so that you're able to actually get to see these kinds of reports. Over to you, Edwin. I don't know whether there is any immediate question before probably Edwin picks up that you have around the tools that I have talked about. Okay, fantastic. Over to you, Edwin.
All right, and I know yes, we'll have an opportunity for us to just get deep into some of the questions that you have. I think I've seen one on the Q&A side, so I think I'll just spare some time for that as we conclude this particular presentation today. Yeah, so please feel free to put your comments in there, in the chat, in the Q&A, ask your questions, any clarifications that you need for us to be able to talk about today, and we shall surely address that. Yeah, so what you're seeing on the screen, as Amos has said, is that, what we're talking about in terms of the whole landscape. You need to ground your data, you need to be able to connect and break down all these silos. And then the net effect of that is that you want to see how you're performing as an organization. Are you delivering the impact? Are you fulfilling the mission that you set out for? And that is what this use case is about. So this is one of the organizations that we're dealing with, and this is something that we did for them. So this is Kenya Wildlife Conservancy Association. So just a bit of a backstory. They had this information in different Excels. Right, so they were using Excels to be able to manage this. They of course have a GIS system that has maps and all that to be able to just look at how conservancies are doing within Kenya, right? And so what we managed to do for them is consolidate all that using Power Platform, right? So I'm going to show you the back end, but I wanted to start with the output of what that would look like. And this is an output of what we call nicely grounded data. Right, so they had data around their landscapes in a different Excel, data around the number of conservancies in Kenya in a different Excel. Then under those conservancies, there's also data of which of those conservancies are members of KWC. That one was being handled in another Excel and probably by a different team. Then there's a team of people who are running programs, people who are running things around, getting resources, right, to be able to, deliver some of these particular programs. And all those particular departments were running as silos. So what we managed to do for them is to bring all that data together, map them and join them together so that it's able to show us, a big picture in terms of how this is looking like. And so that's what you're seeing here on the overview. You're able to see the number of landscapes that they are managing. You're able to see the number of hectares that is under conservancies. You're able to see details around the grants. You're able to also see geographically, from a map perspective, where are those landscapes located? What is their size? What is some of the metadata around the landscape, in terms of, are they, there's a characteristic there. Are they emerging? Are they operational? Are they mature? So there's some metadata that they were capturing about that. And we are able to see all that graphically at the click of a button. So this is something that used to take them a bit of time to be able to create. Another report that is very important here is one that we call State of Conservancies. So this is a report that I think they do annually. And it's a report that now consolidates all the information from the different departments in terms of how much have we gotten to what is the impact on the ground. And I can tell you for a fact that this particular one report used to take them a couple of weeks to do. What we have managed to do that is shrink that to seconds, in terms of so long as the data is there within, the unified database, then they are able to just click and see what is happening there. So this is one of those particular reports. And right now, it's actually ready for you to be able to print out and add into your portfolio that you're sending out. So sometimes, their CEO would want to meet with the president, and the president would have some questions for him. He does not necessarily need to call the office or something like that. He's able to access Power BI on his mobile phone and be able actually to showcase some of these things. So he has information at the palm of his hands, and that is coming from the back end of Power Platform. So this is what we did. And one of the things that I want to showcase here is, as you will see, there's a couple of applications. So remember that we talked about governance. You only want the right people to see the right sets of data. So if I start with Hifadhi Central, which is basically everything, captures all the modules that they have, it will show you everything here. So this is probably like an admin view, right? They will get to see the embedded Power BI report. They'll get to see all the data. So you see all that data that you're seeing in terms of landscape is coming from all these particular tables, right? All these were being maintained separately, right? This is a different Excel sheet, different Excel sheet, different Excel sheet, right? All that is mashed up together. And the other bit is that it's not only mashed up together, but it's connected. So we have a relationship between a conservancy and a landscape. We have a relationship between a conservancy and, the tourism facilities that are available in there. We have a relationship between the conservancies and the counties. That is something that was not existent because they were currently existing in what we call flat files. Right? So this will show you everything that they needed to do. So you have the organization there, you have the strategic plan because they are actually capturing the strategic plan, you have the trackers and the indicators with regards to that. All this data is sitting in here. But now for the different departments, they would want to see different things. So for example, if I'm doing anything around resource mobilization, right, I would come into that particular app that is just filtered to see only the things that deal with resource mobilization. So I can come and see the donors. I can come and now start looking at, something like a funding tracker and start looking at how are we doing on that particular perspective. So this is a very, very important and fundamental build for them because, again, like I say, this funding tracker was being done in Excel. The list of donors is in another place. So being able to enrich this data and have it now communicate a singular story on what we saw in the report is one of the benefits of now leveraging some of these tools. Now, if you come and now put AI on top of this, it's now able now to start telling you stories in terms of your impact, in terms of your data, because now you have normalized the data, you have unified it, you have cleaned it, and you have governed it in such a way that only the people that need to access the data have, access to that particular data. So we just wanted to showcase a snippet of this. Now, this particular platform can be used for a couple of things. You can use it for your expense claims. You can use it to build your ticketing system. You can use it to do your contracts management, in terms of if you have contracts with different vendors or suppliers, and most people are usually complaining in terms of, we forgot or, the contract lapsed and we did not know. So those are some of the things that you'd want to automate, and it comes with notifications that you can be able to leverage from a Power Automate perspective, and now be able to show those particular dashboards on Power BI. That's now the beauty of, the investment that your organization has taken within the Microsoft ecosystem. So if you have any business processes that you'd want us to sit down and talk about with regards to automating, this is now a very good opportunity for you to, have a conversation with us, and let's see how we can be able to drive that particular impact for you. But then as we wrap up, because I know our time is far much spent, and like Amos said, that we wanted to, number one, take some time to tell you what we are expecting for 2026. And what we're expecting for 2026, as just a matter of a recap, is that we have had conversations around Copilot, where Copilot is your assistant, right? Coming alongside you to help you deliver your day-to-day tasks. But what is going to be changing in 2026 is the fact that we're going to be having what we call agents. And agents are basically, autonomous applications, AI applications that are able to orchestrate tasks from beginning to the end without human intervention. Actually, they come to human intervention when they need, some judgment in terms of what then do we do at this particular point in time, but they're able to run on their own. But the other thing that we have mentioned that is very categorical and critical is that the fact that AI is only as good as the data it's grounded on. So if you are still using Excel or you still have silos of systems, so probably your ERP is not necessarily talking to what the sales team are using, is not necessarily talking to what HR is using, then there's a bit of a problem in terms of if your organization is trying to look at how they can be, a frontier organization is going to be hard, because then now trying to bring all those things together as they sit is going to be a huge investment, right? So what we're trying to do is we're saying that have your data grounded first. And what do we mean by that? Basically, we are saying that, you need to unify your data, you need to clean it up, and then you need to make sure that it's governed. And there's a whole story around security, and I think that's the question that I think Grace had in terms of what's the context, who is able to access what at what particular point in time. That is very, very important when it comes to AI, because some of the things that we've had is around breaches in terms of your data leaking, or in terms of even, not getting the right output is because you have not probably put in the right guardrails. So that is really important. Again, to reiterate, you need to be able to unify your data, right? Collapse all those particular silos and have one that is integrated, right? Data that is clean, that is AI ready, such that when you put an agent on top of it, it is now able to give you, informed decisions, right? And then you want to make sure that only the right people have access to that particular data. So the question is, where are you on this particular journey to becoming a frontier organization, right? In terms of you being able to enrich your employees, you being able to invent, customer engagement, in terms of you being able to reshape business processes, or even bend, the curve of innovation. Are you using Copilot already, or have you started building up agents? And if you're asking yourself this question, how do we get to start on this journey? You have come to the right place, because we are Sibasi, and we are an AI native and innovative technology company, and we really pride ourselves in, in delivering services and solutions that empower you and your organization to be able to achieve success and have an impact. And most people ask us what does the name stand for, right? It is basically services and solutions that are invested and integrated into your business for you to achieve success and have an impact, right? And like we have mentioned, just to do kind of like a snapshot of the things that we offer, our solutions offering are in 3 categories. So number one, we have what we call the intelligent business platform. So this is what you've heard from, things around board management, smart memo, things around your ERP, your CRMs to be able to manage your sales and, after sales services, and things around monitoring and evaluation. All these apps are built intelligently to infuse with AI. So that is that's why we're calling them intelligent business apps, because they are already AI fast, right? The other bit is around Microsoft digital transformation. So as most of us have said here, that you already have invested in a Microsoft infrastructure. So where we come in is we try and now start helping you to leverage that particular infrastructure. So are you using Business Central as an ERP? How can you better use it so we can come and implement and also help you optimize that? Productivity systems, your licenses, your Outlook, your security. What are you doing with the business premium license that you have? Are you secure enough? So those are the things that we come and help you to do. Things around business process automation, right? Do you have processes that are running on Excel? right? Or processes that are, kind of like fragmented or are running manually, we can actually help you to consolidate that with the within the Microsoft technology suite, and then help build an application that will be able to automate that. And then the last one is around, your robotics and data analytics system. So we are able to help you to now automate that to the next level, apply agents on top of that to be able to, run your day-to-day repetitive tasks. That is within the Microsoft Digital Transformation section. And then the last one is the advisory, consulting, and support. And this is where we come in and would help you to be able to make sense and get your ROI from your infrastructure. So are you using the licenses the right way? What applications do you need to get? What applications do you need to get rid of? Do you need things around training? Because probably you have gotten a Power BI license, right? But you do not know how to use that license. And that is why I think Maureen had posted a training that we'll be doing on the 26th, right? With regards to, just getting you from 0 to 100 with regards to Power BI, know what you are able to do with that. And those are now some of the services that we are able to bring on board. We are able to train your users in terms of, things around cybersecurity, things around just how to use the normal day-to-day productivity tools, things around your security assessment, infrastructure management. Are you using servers on cloud? How can you better optimize them so that you're not paying too much for them? So that is where we come in as well. So those are the three pillars. And you would ask yourself, why Sibasi? Number one, we are commercial first approach. We understand business process automation, reporting, and data sensitivity requirements that are unique to your industry. So we have worked with a couple of commercial and government institutions, and we have experience in terms of what it takes to be able to build those particular applications. We are also flexible in terms of our engagement. So we try, number one, to understand where do you want to go, and then we tailor our engagement to be able to suit your mission. That is why we say services and solutions invested and integrated into your business for you to achieve success and have an impact. And of course, the third one, which is very key, is knowledge transfer. We don't just fix, and we're not just trying to make sure that we are in your portfolio forever, but we want to make sure that once we deploy, that we empower you to be able to maintain your infrastructure, to be able to get ROI out of you. So that is the reason why you'd want to go with us. And with that, I think we'd just come to the next session of our, of our webinar, which is Q&A. I want to thank you so much for taking time to, stay with us through the course of this particular webinar. I know it's been a long one. There's a lot of applications that we have talked about and a lot of use cases. And I think it's time where you can be able to just, raise some of the questions, concerns, any clarifications. And, we are here to be able to answer that as well. But also the other thing that we want to know, even as we proceed with this, is that what would be some of the areas of interest that you'd want us to delve deep into? Because like we've mentioned, this is the first of many in this coming year. And we now want to have, as we go into the year, we want to have deep sessions, right, in terms of what you're able to do in specific areas. So feel free also to put that in the chat and let us know what we can be able to help you with, or what conversations can we have with regards to what we have talked about today. But as for now, I think we open up the floor for Q&A. Maureen, I don't know if we have any questions. You'd want to shoot them out.
Yeah, I see there's a question here by Grace. She's asking, does the use of Copilot affect accessibility or download of documents sent to your device on other platforms?
Sorry, does the use of Copilot
affect accessibility or download of documents sent to your device on other platforms?
No, it shouldn't have any effects in terms of access to the documents. So I think probably to just highlight, whenever you upload any documents onto the Microsoft 365 Copilot, then the documents actually sit on your personal OneDrive. So if you want, if you go to your OneDrive, and just go and select, just see this list of folders, you'll have one folder that is for Copilot. So all the documents actually sit on your personal OneDrive, unless you actually decide to share the same documents. So in terms of accessibility, you should be having access. access outside the Microsoft ecosystem, you should be able to still download any of those documents if needed to see more information about it. I know Copilot could also give you other capabilities. There's where you can create a notebook and then have, especially where you're chatting with something and then you'd want to share that with other team members. If you're just doing a direct chat, that does not have a direct share. But if you do there are other options where you can create something that can allow you to be able to collaborate with others as you are asking questions and you're getting the feedback. I didn't even go through the loop component and what you can do on that particular front. Just being cautious about time. I don't know whether Grace have answered that question satisfactorily.
Grace, you can give us a thumbs up.
Yeah, that will help. Okay. Is there any other question, Maureen?
Okay, I can see she has selected. Not a question, but I can urge anyone who has a question to, you can raise your hand and we can unmute you so that you can ask your question in the forum.
Yeah, it could mean either information overload or everything was quite clear. Yeah. Yeah, probably we'll just give it probably 2-3 minutes. I know we had slotted 30 minutes to cover the Q&A so that we have enough time to answer any questions around especially on the Microsoft 365 ecosystem and the tools that we talked about. But if there's no particular set of questions, then we could just probably just a minute or so. Then at around 11:35, we could conclude and appreciate everybody for the time and hopefully get some extra time back to our day. Edwin, there was a question I think last week about if there are any interesting offers. I don't know whether I want to bring that up.
I'm not sure if you are reading my mind.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know if you need that using AI, right? Right, yeah. So I think part of the feedback that I'm also seeing here from the poll is that people are looking at, how we can be able to, do things around Copilot. I think we've gotten some responses here. So is either Copilot Studio or Copilot or adoption with Copilot. So I think there's a whole lot of conversation around what Copilots are about. And I think the first place that we would need to start is definitely, I think, Amos, you have showcased the things that we can be able to do from, the free version that comes with any of the licenses that you have, Business Basic, Business Premium, and all that, what comes free. But also I think the other bit is just to showcase that there's currently a limited time discount offer for, Copilot combined with some of these particular, some of the business planned licenses that you have. So if you're running a business premium or business standard, there is some good offers that are running on that, and this is quite some steal. So I think this would be a good place to start. So just talk to us in terms of just kind of like running, because what you need for this is just 1, 2, 3 users to try and run it, and especially with advice that you probably even just get one license to try and run it and see what it could be able to do for that particular use case, right? And then now from that, it will be able to help you to build what we call a proof of value proposal, for your organization to be able to onboard this. So I think that is something that I had just to showcase in terms of what you're able to get, from a Copilot perspective. So this is an offer that is running. So in case you need that, we are able to hook you up with this particular licenses at this particular discount that is running at the moment. Yeah.
Thanks for raising that up. Yeah, so it seems, I think everybody has suggested we do a monthly session and also suggesting that we should also focus more around Copilot adoption, Copilot usage. There's a lot to unpack just on Copilot. There are quite a number of tools also that can assist, especially if your organization has specific business processes, so let's say to do with memos and so forth. There's a solution you might want to check out called smartmemo.app. And there are many different sets of tools that can be of interest. I think the first bit is the question that we were asking earlier, whether you have your data and processes right. That becomes the first step. But when you have these solutions up and running, then it's possible to bring in now the automations. What I was talking about around having AI respond to emails and so forth, it relies on internal knowledge. So your document management, your business central, your ERP, those solutions are the ones that actually feed the AI tools to be able to actually respond. If you are doing what I was talking about, proposals, it cannot just generate proposals from the ether. You would want it to generate proposals with your internal information. So those automations all rely on having these various tools. There's a lot also around security, just making sure. I think the question that you asked, Grace, is an interesting one, because then you don't want also, I think something that happened a while back where teams, you record calls and then the calls are available to everybody across the organization. That was fixed. But basically, how do you also handle the things to do with the access management and security? But all of this is a lot to unpack. I know we have a bigger representation from IT. There's a lot that we can look at from governance, from how do you make sure that as you're implementing these tools, first you get good adoption, and also the other bit is how do you make sure that you're not just paying for the licenses, but you also have people utilizing these particular sets of tools. And we are happy to do sessions where we can do training for your organization on, why not use ChatGPT versus Gemini versus Microsoft Copilot or DeepSeek and so forth. Why do what? And besides just talking about the why, also showing how do you maximize on using these particular sets of tools. So happy to do those sessions if you have, your team. And you have some of them are 30-minute sessions, like when you're talking about just simple productivity tools. Some of them about an hour for us to dive deep. If you have Copilot Pro licenses, the business license, there's a lot that you can do with OneDrive, with listening to records, and there's a lot that you can look at in that particular sector. But happy also to if you have any particular request on that, just reach out to us. I think Edwin, I know we'll send out the mail with these particular items. You will see the email that you can reach out to us to, or the phone number. You can call us at any time and we'll be happy to assist. So I don't know whether there is any additional question. I know we had said, unless there is new questions that are coming in, we could conclude. Maureen, anything else that we would want to cover before we conclude, we close? Or Edwin, anything that might have
So on my side, I think I see, I think Esther has mentioned that, we send the recording because our institution is in the process of implementing 365, and training is going to be very helpful as they roll out. So yes, Esther will definitely do that. Yeah. So as we mentioned when we began that, this session is actually being recorded, and then we'll send that particular information out together with the slides that we have. And then the other thing that we need to mention is, as well as even over and above doing these particular webinars, we can actually be able to tailor sessions for your organization. Because when it comes to AI and Copilot, let's say for example Copilot adoption, each organization has different problems that they're trying to solve with AI. So I think it would be a good time also for you to just reach out to us in terms of if you want a detailed, tailored session on how your organization can be able to leverage technology, and especially AI, things around Copilot, things around building agents. And as you say, that most of us here from the IT space, right? And I think things around building agents will be something that is important. So we would now, number one, want to start from what are the agents going to do? Yeah, so we want to start from first understanding the business requirement. Then now we are able to now apply that when you're building that. So we can have tailored sessions for each and every one, for each and every organization here, if it's something that you think would be vital and important for your organization. So thank you, Esther, for raising that up. Yeah, and we'd be able to do that for you.
Right. Yeah, so thank you so much, I think, for everybody for making the time and being available for at least more than an hour and just listening in. I'm hoping it was beneficial. What we are hoping is that with these sessions, we get to give you as much value as possible. I know there's a lot sometimes to unpack, so we try to cover, what we think could be best covered for the particular session. But if you have any particular topic, if you go to the Sibasi/webinar feedback, you can provide any particular topics that you would want us to cover in a bit more detail. And we can be able to, whether it is do it as a personalized walkthrough or set up at the next webinar to cover that particular area, we'll be happy to do that. If you can join the Power BI or share out that there is that Power BI engagement, please do. And there's a lot of engagement that we are doing, community level, enterprise, and there's a lot of things ongoing. So I know our marketing team will ask me to always keep reminding that if you can follow our pages, we share a lot of updates and what we are doing in those particular links. So thank you so much, I think, from our side, and we appreciate your time. We hope that we'll continue engaging, and in case of anything, you can reach out to us directly. If you want my contact or Edwin's contact or any one of us, happy to engage. You just write to success or info@Sibasi, and somebody will connect you with our team. Asante sana, and wish you all a fantastic today's when? Tuesday. A fantastic Tuesday ahead.
All right.
Asante sana.
Yeah. Thank you, and have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.